Brian, it is good to see you. Welcome to the show. We've been trying to coordinate this for a while. How are you, man?
Doing great. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
I'm going to jump right in. Um, it won't surprise you that all you can hear about these days is AI, right? AI this, AI that. And if we think about it in our world, it tends to be chatbots. That's kind of what I see and hear. I think that's an interesting choice we've made because I would argue that chatbots might be a terrible mascot for this new technology. Do you do you agree to that? I don't see customers coming to me saying they want more chatbots. What do you how do you think about it?
Yeah, I know they're frustrating for me when I try to use them. Right?
Yeah,
Typically they're very limited into what they respond to. You have to use a couple of keywords just to kind of help, and maybe it helps out with triage, but I guess it all depends on your channel of choice, right? So if,
right.
if you're going to be on a website and you need some help navigating something, that's one thing to help you. Hey, go here, go here. You need this, click here, and you get to where you want to go. So it may help you navigate you through different places. Doesn't answer your questions most of the time.
Yeah, I'm curious though, in the real world, so we get to see the sensational things there. Do you have any kind of real world experiences of how you've seen chatbots or conversational AI really make an impact? I get your point that it should be not a use case versus everyone trying to run. Have you seen it actually make a difference in your world?
Oh yeah, huge difference. So I can get into my story and kind of give you a story
Yeah.
of where I was and what how I got involved in the AI space. But really, I mean, I've been in the contact center business for over 30 years, and running sites, work on the BPO side, working in-house call centers. Um, Biggest challenges I think most contact centers have is the ability to staff and find people that want to work, and attrition in the call center business is a big problem. So that really exposed itself coming out of COVID for us,
Mhm.
right? Coming out of COVID, I expected people to come back to work. People didn't want to come back to work, but everybody wanted to get back to their business, and so my volume was spiking up, and I couldn't staff, and I was abandoning 40 to 50% of my call volume, and I had to come up with something else because I couldn't continue to throw bodies at it. So we did some explorations, found us a very good voice assistant to at least take initially some simple calls. I had 40,000 calls for one of my hotels a month
Oh wow. Mhm.
that were just simple calls. Right? Can you transfer me to the restaurant? Transfer to housekeeping? What time is check in? Just simple calls like that. But it was about 40,000 calls a month that were taking up my reservation agent's time. So we just we deployed a voice assistant in about 4 weeks, which answered 80+% of those calls
Wow.
from day one, and took those calls off of my agents. So now it freed up my agents to be able to handle reservation calls, driving more revenue. Customers calling to just a simple question got answered right away instead of having to wait 30, 40, 50 minutes on the phone to be able to just get a simple transfer. So that was a huge win for us.
Wow. I I I love that. There's something you said there that really struck me that I want to dive into, if you don't mind, which is a different set of humans, the agents, the representatives. I've done that job decades ago. I don't know if you ever had that job.
That's how I started. Yeah.
Okay, like I've taken phone calls and that, and I think I don't know a much more difficult job in corporate America, at least not one in the white collar sort of knowledge space. You gotta remember to build rapport. You've got 40-year-old systems you're having to navigate. There's swivel chair. There's your calls are being recorded. Every word you say is being scrutinized. They tell you exactly when to go to the bathroom, and someone's counting how many seconds you're spending in the bathroom. I could go on, but
Sure.
you know this very well. Can you talk about? And so then every time I feel like we get a new process and technology, we skip and fly over that person and go straight to the customer, right? Not just the customer. I get it, but my gosh, we've got these sets of humans here that have, for decades have been crying for help, and I feel like we are missing an opportunity to make their lives better. Can you talk about what you've done and what you've seen where we're focusing on the agents?
Well, I think this in this industry, like you said, it's very call center is a difficult job. Again, it's you're just like an umbilical cord. You got that headset on. You can't move. You can't leave, and we get the breaks and everything. So, and a lot of it is the time, the type of work that they're doing, and what I found was as I took away some of these more mundane, simple, easy calls away from my agents, now they were able to focus on different types of calls, maybe a little more complex that thought needed more thinking, that needed to help people and give them a better sense of of feeling for helping somebody with their issues or their problems. And so, somebody just if you're just an operator, transfer here, transfer me there, that's nobody wants to do that. That's not a career, right?
Right.
So how do you do that? It's still a tough job. I still, we still struggle. I mean, we still have attrition, and call center jobs are tough to fill. Driving the agent experience obviously has a great impact on your customer experience. And
Yeah,
so happier agents or make help to drive happier customers and your customer experience. And so really it all rolls down to the return on the experience. You talk about return on investment a lot, but I like to look at it. What's the return on the experience that you give your customers, and whether that's with a live agent or whether it's with it, making it easy for them to do business and getting their issue taken care of quickly.
I like that. Um, I want to see if I've been seeing more and more companies embrace this, and you who live it on a daily basis, I'll be curious to see your take. Um, we see what these public clouds and tech companies are doing. You're seeing it in some of the CRMs and injecting this sort of digital assistant in there.
Sure.
Can you talk about how you're thinking about that for the agents, right? In the same way as you told this fantastic story of this bot going out and finding information and solving those customer issues, I think the next big frontier is let's hand these people something like that, right? What have you seen, or how are you thinking about that part of it?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. When we've taken that simple case that we started with, and we've expanded it now to much more complex. So my virtual assistant can actually make a full reservation, look up casino offers, look up your reservation availability, book your reservation, can do all that. And last year, it made roughly about 2,500 to 3,000 reservations a month, created about $7 million worth of revenue for us without the need to speak to an agent. And when you talk about the burnout of an agent over and over again, this virtual assistant comes to work every day, has 100% utilization, doesn't complain, doesn't get out, doesn't have. I don't have to give it breaks and lunches. It just works. It just works, right? It's 100% utilization, 100% adherence. It's so from that. Those are some of the things we've done. But then you start thinking about what you're mentioning, agent assist, right? So taking as the call's coming in and transcribing the comments that the customer is making, and having AI to be able to summarize what the customer is asking and then pop up the information to the agent to say, hey, this is an opportunity for either this upsell or for an opportunity. This is how you want to respond to this question, right? When they have the question, when they come up with the question. So you can use it from an agent assist standpoint. Other areas where I think it's really being involved is taking the actual QA, the call, the recorded call, and doing some voice analytics on the call to understand what is it the customer summarizing, right? Summarize the whole call. A lot of call centers, they have after call work where the agent has to now summarize what happened on the call and how to put that in. Now you can summarize the whole call on basically using generative AI to say, give me a short paragraph on summarize this call for me, and that pops it into the for the agent into the system, so the agent doesn't have to do it. Reduces your handle time, your after call work. It's more accurate information. So a lot of things like that are out there.
I like it. I'm going to press you on one thing you said that gets me a little bit. I think people who are listening might have that same reaction when you start talking about this machine that doesn't need time off, works 24/7. I start to get a little bit nervous. Are you planning on replacing me, Brian? If I am your agent who's listening to this podcast, what's going on there? This sounds like Terminator you're building there.
I think that's a scare. I think people they think that's what's happening, and you go back into history over time about every time new technology comes out, and everybody has a fear that you're going to replace all the horses. What are we going to do? Right? So I mean, we evolve and learn, but when I look at the call center space, and I look at last year, my virtual assistant did 24 FTEs worth of work, right? And I didn't replace 24 people.
Right.
It's just 24 people I didn't have to. I couldn't hire. I was unable to find and recruit. So I don't see it as replacing people as much as it's filling the gap of those jobs that we struggle with hiring. But then look at what can you do to repurpose your agents to be a little more productive. You're not going to train them all to be engineers. Maybe that's not where they want to be, but I think there's going to be some evolution, just like we've seen in every revolution that's come on over the centuries.
For sure. And I'm chatting with my friend Brian, who is a contact center guru. We're gonna have his LinkedIn in there. He's on the board of Contact Center AI Association, has run large contact centers and so on. I want people to get to know you a bit, so I asked a bit of a fun question on uh, what is a purchase that you've made over the last whatever that you thought under $50 that was impactful to your life? I think mine would be, it's a tie, but I think mine might be the Alexa. I bought the little dots many years ago, and it's been a gift and a curse.
Yeah,
because it's I might never financially recover from that purchase, because then I got the smart lights and the smart this. I even have a smart lawnmower now that I use in the country.
it mows your lawn for you too. That's great.
so so it's turned into a deal. I think if I buy one more smart thing, I might go bankrupt. But it was a small purchase that had an impact on my life. What would be yours? A small under $50 are the only rolls. You can pick whatever you want.
Wow, yeah, it's hard to think that you can do anything for under $50. You can't even fill up your gas tank for under $50 anymore. So,
Kidding, right? Kidding.
I think when I look back, I'm going to say a book
Okay.
a book that I thought was very impactful for me, called The Effortless Experience by Matthew Dixon.
Gosh, yes, that was a game changer for me too. Yeah.
A great book, very, very inexpensive, but the knowledge and the experience and really the understanding of how do you make it easier for customers to do business with you, and how does that impact and drive revenue to you, bottom line. So I think that was probably the most impactful thing that I spent less than $50 on.
That's awesome. What a great book. It rearranged my brain when I read that in 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. It was a game changer. I want to go back just a few more for you before I let you go. Um, I can take a skeptical view of all of this, and I've heard the great impact you're already having and the real dollars that you're saving and impacting that. But then how I got into this business was I used to be on the tech side. I used to develop software for contact centers. And the hottest thing in my day was this whole phone IVR thing. And I could read you verbatim. So I have on a different show where I was reading industry analysts, what they were saying about the transformative nature of the IVR. Or almost, I think some of those guys went and copied and pasted those articles, replaced it with AI. And we're here again. And I'm not to say that the IVR was a complete failure, right? It's processing
Sure.
billions of interactions as we speak today. But at the end of the day, if I go back to the humans, I don't know that the humans will say that it has exceeded their expectations. The humans, meaning customers by and large, hate IVRs. And the agents, again, by and large, hate IVRs too, because they've got to repeat, they ask them the same questions
Sure.
again. And not that it's not a net good, it is doing its weight. And the only people who won, this is my skeptical view, are the companies. X number of company, we process X transactions, cost us pennies on the dollars. But the customer experience, we did not get that wrong. It's now been 30 years. We still haven't gotten it wrong. I could count on one hand the IVRs that I would call voluntarily. The others I call because I have to.
Right.
So I bring this back to you and pose this question and say that as we go into this thing, LLM, ChatGPT, how do we get to a place where this time is in fact different, that we utilize this new tool we have to impact the lives of those two individuals?
Yeah. Good question. I look back at IVRs, and I think where IVI served their purpose was just in routing the calls to the right people. Maybe
Right.
it wasn't necessarily. Hopefully, it was good for the customer because they had a question. They could say, "I need to go here," and it gets you to a queue of somebody who's knowledgeable and to help you with whatever that issue was. But it gets very cumbersome, and we started out. I have 7 Golden Nugget properties now. And so we started out for Golden Nugget Las Vegas, press 1. For Golden Nugget Lake Charles, press 2. All of a sudden, now I've got 7 properties, and I thought, what a horrible waste of time to have to sit and listen through all that whole process to figure out where I wanted to go. And so I think what AI has done, and conversational voice particularly, is to be able to capture and understand the intents of what the customer is wanting. So just asking it, how can I help you? Right. And then the
Right.
customer just natural voice, how this is what I'm looking for, understanding that. And either it's set up to be able through generative AI or through scripting set up to be able to give a response to what those intents are, or to make sure you get it to the right direction where you want to go. And the other thing it gives, and again, this is for companies, but let me back up. You mentioned one thing where you said, you have to repeat everything all over again. And this is one of the areas that we did when we started out with partial reservations is we asked the customer, what are you a member of our players club? But what's your date of arrival? How many adults? How many nights? And so it would collect that information, and then it would say, one moment, I'll get you to somebody to help you. Send it to a reservation agent, and it would pop that information to my agent. My agent knew when it popped in, knew when the customer was coming in, knew who the customer was, could address them by name through that, and really helped out streamline and make that experience much better. So virtual assistants can do much more from that standpoint, where it can capture that information, understand the intents, and now you have data too to understand why your customers are really calling. What's the deep down information to help you understand. I got if I'm most people call a call center because they have an issue, they have a problem. And so if I can capture what those problems are and then figure out how to fix those problems so they don't have to call in the future, that information is much more valuable for me. And IVRs didn't do that, whereas virtual assistants are much more data, capture the data and be able to provide you better information.
Makes sense. I want to, as we wrap up here, I want to share some things with you that maybe will give you pause as we think about this. You saw the Air Canada story, the bot made up a refund and
Yeah.
the jokes are down.
Yeah.
I think a more benign one is um, the Chevy that told the customer to buy a Ford.
Yeah. Scary.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know it's early innings. As you talk to clients and as you talk about this in the industry, how do you kind of assuage people? Because what worries me, these are fun, it's fun for whoever is going to get fired for lawsuits with Air Canada. But I just hope that we don't get to a place where people freak out too much and slows things down. How do you think about things like that, and how do you kind of overcome it?
Yeah, that's scary. That those things can happen, right? And it really comes down to how you build it. You have to be able to put guardrails on it. It's just data. I had a friend of mine gave me a good analogy with AI. He says AI it's like a sharp kitchen knife.
Mm.
It can be used to cut food and prepare food and do something very, really, very good and very beneficial for you, but it can also cut your finger. And so it's how you use it and make sure that you use it and prepare it and train it to do the right things. You can put guardrails on your information when you start getting out into generative AI and it's starting to look at everything out there in the universe and how it could respond to certain things. That's where you get scared and you got to say, hey, there's certain things that you're just not gonna. You have to control it so it doesn't respond to certain things in a way that you can always pass things over to an agent. I look at digital. I look at this whole process as digital when you want and human when you need. So you can do that. And I know that like 60 to 80% surveys say 60 to 80% of the people would rather speak to a live person, but 100% of the people just want their issue taken care of.
That's that's spot on. And you know, I've actually found the humans are sounding more like bots, and the bots are getting more human.
Right. Very good point.
Right? Like because there's a script in the organization, but there's this thank you for calling. How are you doing?
Sure.
And to getting more conversational, like just making stuff up, being more human, giving me credit I don't deserve. I think I kind of like
Hey, I know my virtual assistant is nice every single time. I
have a
know
bad day.
it doesn't swear at my customers. So yeah, so I think that has its place. There's a place for people still. People will still want to speak to a live person, but you just give them options in the channel of their choice that makes it easier for them to do business with you. That's the end game.
Awesome. As we leave, I think I'll give you the last word, and I'll pose the question to you this way: are you optimistic about the future of our business, and why?
Yeah, I think the customer service space is going to see some transformational changes. AI is it was a buzzword last year. This year it's like if I'm not doing it, I'm lost, right? And just to see the change in technology so quickly, and so I think we're really starting to understand how to um, not just using a voice assistant to be able to give you a response. LLMs, respond with information about the question that you have, but you're going to start getting into large action models where these virtual assistants will actually do things for you, so and become much more productive for you. Hey, make me a reservation and do this or do that, right? Instead of just tell me the answer, start doing stuff for us. And I think you're going to start seeing that more often. And it's going to you mentioned your Alexa, right? That you use, and people are so it's becoming so useful, right? Whether Alexa or Siri or whatever you're using, to be able to get things done, and it's more common. So if you can start using those same tools to do stuff for you instead of just give you answers, I think you're going to see some major changes.
You're spot on. That's a great analogy. I started, it was basically an expensive speaker, and now it turns on my lights and knows when I comes in.
Yeah.
It's becoming more than just giving me information. It's doing stuff it knows. Um, and that will probably be the same evolution. Brian, this has been awesome. You got to come back again. There's a lot I want to get in with you. We're going to put your LinkedIn info. Please connect with Brian. And thank you all for listening. And thank you so much, Brian, for being here.
Thank you, Amos. Appreciate it very much.